Conor McGregor, Ireland's next Prime Minister.
Mr. Reagan.
Conor McGregor is currently being investigated by the Irish police for so-called hate speech for siding with the rioters the other day who wreaked a little bit of havoc in Dublin. And here's the thing, havoc was wreaked.
3 buses were burnt by the rioters. At least 13 shops were looted. 11 Garda vehicles were destroyed.
Now look, I don't personally like seeing that kind of thing. I don't think that's the best way to protest. However, this was justified. The reason for these riots was actually the attempted murder of 3 small children. An immigrant who has yet to be named or even described by authorities stabbed 3 children and a woman, and this obviously outraged the public. Of course, the media wouldn't talk about him, wouldn't talk about how he was an immigrant. They sort of hid that from the public, and that was frustrating and outrageous to everyone, as well it should be, because there is no transparency in the media anymore. They want to hide everything that might indicate that immigration is a problem. Consider if this madman had been a white Irishman. We would know everything about this guy already.
Preliminary indications are that a male attacked a number of people on Parnell Square East. 5 casualties have been taken to hospitals in the Dublin region. These casualties include 3 young children, an adult female and an adult male. 1 girl aged 5 years has sustained serious injuries and is currently receiving emergency medical treatment in CHI Temple Street.
I looked across the road and I seen a man in a stabbing motion with a load of children. So I flew across the road and the man was after stabbing two children as far as I could make out.
And of course, people were not rioting just because of this incident. This was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. The immigration problem has become so severe in Ireland that we've hit a point of critical mass, and the people's outrage needed to be expressed.
The way in which the incident was reported, of the 2 little girls being stabbed and the care worker and the whole thing that happened, the Irish media, Irish Times, leapt on the opportunity to say this was somebody who was a naturalised citizen, he'd been here for 20 years. You could almost feel the sort of tension in the Irish media elite saying, don't go there on the immigrant question, don't go there, even though Dublin is a small town, even though it's a capital city, and word had spread that what this person looked like. And so there quite quickly became this sort of tension of they're not telling us the truth.
Right.
They're lying, they're going to spin this a certain way. There's also the case that, Dublin has had a lot of problems, well, the whole of Ireland has, but in particular Dublin with housing and, whether you want to call them the left behind, the sort of working class, whatever it is, there's a section of people still living in Dublin and on the outskirts who are extremely destitute, extremely poor and extremely ticked off with the sort of Dublin 4 set, pretending like nothing is wrong. There's real tensions in that city, and that has also fed into it sort of spilling out.
So you see, in this case, I do believe that the people of Ireland have a right, not only a right, but a duty to be outraged at the changes to their society by this mass immigration that they did not vote for, but that politicians decided for them that they would be subject to. They have been subjected to radical cultural changes that they did not ask for. They have been subjected to acute housing shortages, which they did not ask for. They have been subjected to increased crime, vicious crime, which they did not ask for. And now you're not allowed to even talk about this. Conor McGregor, the famous boxer and UFC champion, has tweeted out a flurry of messages supporting the Irish outrage at this stabbing and criticizing the immigration problem in Ireland. His comments reflect the frustration and the outrage of Irishmen, and I believe that he has become, as sometimes happens with our hometown heroes, the voice of the people. But there is a solution, and I'm going to get to the details of this story and present my solution in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. Chances are you've been here before. The chaos in the markets, oil and stocks. Just when you thought it was safe and interest rates are rising, new threats come out of nowhere. Tensions are boiling from Asia to Europe. Things are very volatile right now. You may not have considered gold before, but listen, It is not speculation, it's insurance. And right now, you need some insurance. Noble Gold Investments have been protecting investors from disaster for years with precious metals. So if you're worried, it might be time to take a fresh look at gold and silver. Gold is a proven safe haven shield for your portfolio and a volatility balance against uncertainty. Right now, Noble Gold Investments is offering a free 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin with its new IRAs this month. If you open your Noble Gold Investments IRA or 401k rollover, you can claim your coin today. Remember, crisis brews, portfolios waver, gold insulates. Secure yourself against these threats. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com right now, noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company I trust. So Conor McGregor is being investigated by the Irish police for hate speech. So let's look at some of his tweets and let's find that hate, shall we? So in one tweet he wrote, "I don't care about President Higgins' statement or Varadkar's statement or Mary Lou's or Justice McKinty's or Garda commissioners. Announce our plan of action. What are we waiting for? Your statements of nothing are absolutely worthless to the solving of this issue. Take action. Fix the situation immediately." Ooh, so hateful. Send that man to prison. Now, about the man who stopped the attacker, a Brazilian immigrant, Conor McGregor wrote this: "The working man is the real hero. Bravo, our Brazilian brother in Ireland, working hard, earning a living, and contributing to Irish society. This is it. We love, appreciate, and respect you greatly. Thank you so much. Ciao, Benicio. You are forever free to eat at my establishment." Hashtag hero. Arrest that man. How dare he write such hateful hate speech? Conor McGregor, you are a monster. Reacting to some of the more opportunistic scoundrels that were out and about the night of the Dublin riot, coincidentally immigrants, McGregor wrote this: "Despicable scenes last night in Dublin city centre. People looting shops amidst the anger and rage Ireland has for many of the failed policies of the government. Has this regime ever had even one successful policy? Health service in shambles, abominable housing crisis, immigration wide open, climate hypocrisy rubbed in our face, danger in our streets at an all-time high. Can we point to any successes? We can lambast these wasters looting and damaging our streets last night, and we will. But when it passes, the spotlight shines again firmly on the many all failed policies of this Irish government. We are awaiting action. The families of those grieving are waiting. We will not forget. You will not brush this under the rug. We stand with those in mourning. Make change or make way." And about the PM's immigration policy, Conor wrote, "He is actually not asking them for permission to plant multiple busloads of people in the dead of night inside their community. Instead, he's telling them, well, it now seems from below, said communities are not going to ask him if they may stop them. How do we feel? I feel transparency is the answer. Full information should be attained and divulged to gain support from the communities of Ireland for this new peculiar procedure that has began over the course of this year 2023. Without it, fear, panic, unrest. Can't we come to our senses here?" Oh my goodness, did he just call mass immigration into villages peculiar? I am pretty sure that somebody else once used the word peculiar, and that man's name was Adolf Hitler. Conor McGregor is literally Hitler. All right, now responding to a video of immigrants being dropped off in an Irish village, McGregor wrote, "Have you ever seen the likes of this? This, in my opinion, is a crime against the fabric of Irish society. Scared residents of a community watch on helplessly, yet still peacefully, as multiple busloads of people are ushered into their community in blacked out buses in the dead of night. It's hard enough to secure your own base in Ireland as it is. To think of people who have worked so hard and saved up to secure a home and a community to raise their children, and then out of nowhere, without warning, multiple busloads of people, and from the footage, all adult males, are sworn in silence. This is not good for Ireland. Who wants to experience this feeling? There is zero transparency throughout this entire procedure. People of the community are not told who these men are or why they're here. This is what I mean when I say we are at war. You cannot expect the people of Ireland to tolerate this. We will not." Okay, you know what? Jokes aside, he is right. He is absolutely right. Here's how you know that these officials know exactly how sinister and evil what they're doing is. They're not doing it in broad daylight. They're not talking about this cheerfully in their speeches or doing fluff pieces on the TV news about this. No. They're doing this under the cover of darkness, hiding it, because they know it's outrageous and people will feel victimized because they are being victimized. What's happening here in America and Ireland, throughout Europe, this is a crime. So look, you see, just about everything Conor McGregor is saying here in these tweets these are political opinions. but they're the wrong political opinions. Conor McGregor is not being targeted for being hateful. He's being targeted for having the wrong political opinions. And a lot of people fall for this crap, like a lot of voters, okay, a lot of people watching the mainstream media. They actually believe what Conor McGregor is saying is hate speech because these people are ignorant and because they don't think. You know, some people are just very gullible and they're easily tricked. And so a lot of people these days, they confuse, a recognition of the problems of mass migration with a criticism of race. And the truth is, mass migration does cause problems. And some cultures are just incompatible with other cultures. And this is often true of Muslims and Christian cultures. This is an ugly truth that people on the left, they want to close their eyes to this, they want to plug their ears, and they want to pretend that it doesn't exist. But it gets particularly bad when the immigrants from these cultures hate the cultures they're immigrating into. And that is a huge problem with many of these Muslim immigrants. I've got a buddy who's like pro-immigration. Yeah, I got a buddy who's pro-immigration. I know, it's crazy. But he told me, he goes, but my neighbor is Muslim and they're very nice. And I said, yeah, you know what? Sure. All of my Muslim friends, and I have several Muslim friends, they're all nice too. But you know what? That's not really the point. The point is that a lot of Muslim immigrants are not so nice. And these ones are not going to be the ones that befriend you. You're probably not going to meet the ones that hate you unless they rob you or do something worse. And it is such a ridiculous irony that we are so strongly against racism in the West, but then we import racists. And not just racists, but racists who are specifically racist against us. Like, why would you do that? And look, this is not a racial issue, but the left always claims that it is. And they confuse people, right? They convince people that any criticism of culture is actually a criticism of race. And these two things are very different. For many years, one of my best friends was a Pakistani who grew up in the UK. And honestly, this guy would be one of the first people to criticize Pakistani culture in the UK. I have black friends that severely criticize black culture in America. And these guys say some crazy things, to be honest. I mean, things that I could never get away with saying. And listen, we must be able to criticize culture because some cultures are crap, really. We do not want some cultures in Western countries at all. And the truth is, some Muslim cultures are crap. And look, some are pretty good. Qatar, UAE, Oman, these countries seem to have very good cultures. I haven't visited them, but I look forward to doing so in the near future. But look, it doesn't matter if I say that some Islamic countries have great cultures. Because if I say that some Islamic countries have crap cultures, I'm absolutely going to be labeled by some leftists as a racist. Because that is the primary weapon of the left. They don't care to argue the merits of any idea. They just want to characterize their opponents as bigots in order to make people scared to agree with them. And this is exactly what they did with the Irish rioters the other day. Everyone who went around causing havoc in Ireland has now been labeled right-wing by the media over there. And the same thing happened with Brexit, if you remember that. Everybody who voted for Brexit was characterized as right-wing, which among leftists is synonymous with racist. And, this is a propaganda war. They label anyone right-wing as racist, and then they label anyone who questions them as right-wingers. And nobody wants to be associated with racism, and so there is a certain percentage of the population that will just never associate with right-wing ideas, right-wing values, or even right-wing people, because they're so afraid of being called racist. But the truth is that Brexit voters and those who voted for Milei in Argentina, or those who voted for Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, and all those people who rioted in the streets of Dublin the other day, these are not far-right people. These are normal people, centrists. It is not far-right to advocate limited legal immigration and to end illegal immigration, especially of immigrants who hate your country, hate your religion, and hate your people. It is not far-right to criticize cultures that have completely different and appalling, in some cases, sets of ethics that are completely different from your own. It is not far right to want to protect your way of life and your culture and the jobs of your family members and those within your own culture. It is not far right to believe that it's simply a matter of taste to like or dislike exotic ethnic foods or music or fashion or language. These are things that should be true of everyone. Everyone should recognize the problems with illegal immigration and mass migration. In fact, if you don't recognize these problems, it does not mean you are an elevated progressive. It means you're a moron. And so when you hear somebody say this is an attack on conservatives, as I often say, or an attack on the right or the far right or Republicans here in the US, or whatever, any of this kind of stuff, this isn't exactly right. Oftentimes, these things are really just attacks on the center. They're attacks on common sense. These are attacks on normal. Because you know what? It is abnormal to say that a man can be a woman if he cuts his junk off. It is abnormal to say that obesity is healthy. It is abnormal to kneel to black people out of a sense of collective white guilt. The point I'm trying to make here is what the left calls far right is actually the center. They started playing this game a while back, demanding a shift in the Overton window, or a shift in what is perceived to be acceptable or normal in regular society. And this shift has worked. Homosexuality is perceived to be normal now. Communism is considered by most college students as preferable to capitalist democracies. And white people are reviled as evil colonists. However, they've not shifted it as much as they would like, and so now they've pivoted. Instead of trying to shift the Overton window, now they've decided on a new tack. Now they want to criminalize speech.
When you think about it, all law, all legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our constitution, yes, you have rights, but they are restricted for the common good. Everything needs to be balanced. And if your views on other people's identities go to make their lives unsafe, insecure, and cause them such deep discomfort that they cannot live in peace, then I believe that it is our job as legislators to restrict those freedoms for the common good.
The Twitter user known as Doge Official CEO made the comedic yet probably accurate observation that if you dare make a meme in Ireland, you may be raided by a special forces team. And Elon Musk backed this up by writing, language being proposed as law in Ireland means that this could literally happen to you for having a meme on your phone. And why can't we talk about the immigrant problem? Is it really because leftists think that we're racist? Maybe in part, but they also know that there are legitimate problems caused by mass immigration. So why not just be human about this? Why not just speak about these problems and the reasons we might want immigrants from around the world coming to this country or coming to Ireland or whatever? Why not just discuss this civilly? Why arrest people that you don't like just for talking about this stuff? Well, it's because if we talk about this, the truth will eventually be exposed. And they really do not want the truth exposed. And the truth is, of course, that immigrants tend to vote left. They tend to vote left because leftists around the world have effectively lied for decades about the right. That is, they've convinced the world that conservatives are racist. And immigrants, well, they don't want to vote for racist political parties, and so they vote left. The irony, of course, is that most immigrants are, in fact, conservative. Like if you had an immigrant take a survey, a typical immigrant, take a survey on political issues, they would be rated far right. But because of this one lie, that conservatives are racist, because of this lie being so effective, immigrants are almost always tricked into voting left, especially the children of immigrants. This is why I despise the left so much. All of their political capital is accumulated by lies. The more effective they are at lying, the more political capital they have. The more gullible the electorate, the more political capital they have. And immigrants who don't speak perfect English, they are a prime target for these degenerates. And what I think is quite baffling about Ireland is they actually elected one of the most vile leftists in the world as the leader of their country. The Prime Minister of Ireland is this guy, Leo Varadkar. Varadkar? I don't know how to pronounce his stupid name. Leo is, of course, a gay Indian atheist. Because of course he is. Of course that would be the leader of Ireland. That's of course who you would elect, right? But no. This is the guy that the Irish people have elected as their leader. A gay Indian atheist. The Irish people who are predominantly straight, white, and Catholic. In fact, I'll give you the numbers. Straight, 96%. white 91.7%, Catholic about 75%, and yet they elect as their prime minister a gay Indian atheist. What the hell is wrong with you people? Okay, and before you get all upset about my criticism of the Irish people for electing a gay Indian dude, let me just double down on that. You see, it's been a trend for a long time now, both in Europe and in the United States, to elevate people of color, to elevate women, to elevate gay people. It doesn't matter if you're charming or talented or intelligent or hardworking or a good person. No. None of that old-fashioned stuff matters anymore. What matters is that you're brown, or you're a female, or that you're gay. That's all that matters. And if you're a brown gay man who's transitioned into a woman and become female, well, that's just the best one of all, isn't it? Look, obviously, I find this kind of trend probably the most idiotic kind of trend ever in history. And to be honest, I actually think it's a little bit infantilizing to those people, because I think leftists tend to look at gay people and women and ethnic minorities like little puppies or kittens, harmless, cuddly little pets to be patted on the head and told they're a good boy. Of course, much like exotic animals that people sometimes think of as cuddly and harmless, sometimes these pets destroy the house and kill their masters. And that is exactly what's happening here in Ireland. Because you see, as I said before, not all immigrants actually like the people of their adopted country. Sometimes they hate them. But of course, that is the primary instinct of many leftists anyway, so it's difficult to tell if the Prime Minister of Ireland's hatred is born from his homosexuality or his foreign roots or just from his leftist ideology. The truth is, I don't know. It's probably influenced by all three of these things. All I know for sure is that this gay Indian leader of Ireland is destroying Ireland. And it's really the fault of the Irish people. At the end of the day, it's their fault for letting the wolf in the door. They got him into office. And if you're not convinced that he's a total dirtbag, then let me show you why I hate this guy so much. This degenerate Prime Minister of Ireland went on TV after the riots, and although he did mention the despicable attempted murder of the children, his focus seemed primarily on the rioters. Here's what he said.
Yesterday evening, some people decided that the best way to respond to this terrible attack was to take to the streets of Dublin and try to terrify, intimidate, loot and destroy. Those involved brought shame on Dublin, brought shame on Ireland, and brought shame on their families and themselves. These criminals did not do what they did because they love Ireland. They did not do what they did because they wanted to protect Irish people. They did not do it out of any sense of patriotism, however warped. They did so because they're filled with hate. They love violence, they love chaos, and they love causing pain to others. To all those cowardly champions of Ireland who took to the streets of Dublin last night, let me say one thing. Ask your sisters, ask your friends, ask everyone you know what they fear most on our streets. They're afraid of you, afraid of your anger and your rage, afraid of your violence, your hate, and how you blame others for your problems. Being Irish means more than saluting the tricolour, beating your chest and pointing to where you were born. And also we'll modernise our laws against incitement to hatred and hatred in general. And that is more required than ever was the case before.
What a piece of human garbage. I hate this guy. If he were a good leader, what he would have said is, "We hear you, Ireland, and we understand your frustrations. We messed up. We do have an immigration problem. We will fix this." That's what he should have said. And you know what's funny? After writing this script, right, because I scripted that out, I'm reading this off of a teleprompter. After I wrote that on my computer, that concept of what a good prime minister would say, I started looking through the tweets of Conor McGregor. I was looking through the tweets to find examples of his hate speech, right? And you know what I found? I found an absolutely brilliant tweet. And you're not going to believe this, but it's almost exactly what I just said a great prime minister should say. Conor wrote, "I do not condone last night's riots. I do not condone any attacks on our first responders and their line of duty. I do not condone looting and the damaging of shops. Last night's scenes achieved nothing toward fixing the issues we face. I do understand frustrations, however, and I do understand a move must be made to ensure the change we need is ushered in, and fast. I am in the process of arranging. Believe me, I am way more tactical and I have backing. There will be a change in Ireland, mark my words. The change needed. In the last month, innocent children stabbed leaving school. Aisling Murphy murdered. 2 Sligo men decapitated. This is not Ireland's future. If they do not act soon with their plan of action to ensure Ireland's safety, I will. So there you go. Conor McGregor indicating that he is willing to take over the government of Ireland in order to fix the problems there. And I am all for it. Go Conor McGregor. Because Ireland needs leadership from somebody like Conor McGregor desperately. Their current guy, he has failed to say this, what I just read you. He has failed to say anything like this, and he will never implement any effective solutions to any problems that Ireland is facing. How could he implement effective solutions if he doesn't even recognize the problems? He claims that the problem is right-wing extremism. And of course he does, because he is a deranged leftist. And look, if you're not convinced that this guy is a complete moron and incapable of being an effective prime minister, just before condemning justifiably frustrated Irishmen as far-right extremists, he made another idiotic statement.
Again, the Irish Prime Minister has put his foot in. He's posted, "This is a day of enormous joy and relief for Emily Hand and her family. An innocent child who was lost has now been found and returned, and we breathe a massive sigh of relief. Our prayers have been answered." She wasn't lost and found and returned like a pair of sunglasses. She was kidnapped by the Islamist terrorists of Hamas. He knows precisely what he's doing with that language.
This Irish PM, too, is a real clown. He's a real joke, and we need to talk about him more next week, because, you know, there was that incident in Dublin where an Algerian migrant stabbed kids, and there were riots because people were so upset with the migration situation in Ireland. Now, he is proposing, what's he going to do? Crack down on migration? No. He's going to crack down on free speech. And he's been saying that he's going to introduce new bills to allow the police to check your phone or to punish you for having the wrong memes and hate speech on your phone. And this is why people like Geert Wilders wind up winning elections, because they say, no, it's not far right. It's common sense.
So this guy is standard leftist scum, and he needs to be voted out of office. Maybe even removed before an official election. Just get this guy out of there. And then Ireland needs to get into office an Irish Donald Trump, an Irish Geert Wilders, an Irish Javier Milei. Ireland, you need a badass to lead your country out of this disaster. And who might that badass be? Well, of course, it would have to be Conor McGregor. Honestly, it would be an epic victory for the people of Ireland. And I have promised to end this video with a solution to our immigration problems here in the US and in Europe. So here it is. It's not enough that we elect conservative politicians. We must demand that those politicians take drastic action against the immigration problem. So here's my two-pronged approach, which I recommend in every developed nation with an immigrant problem. 1, deport criminals. Now this seems obvious, and yet it's rarely done. If a criminal is an illegal immigrant or even a legal immigrant, that person must be deported. And I don't mean for murder or something vicious like that. I mean for anything. And okay, yeah, severity of crimes must be considered, so maybe not jaywalking, but basically anything worse than that. And here's where my method will become controversial. In countries with particularly severe immigration situations, we must also deport the immigrant families of the immigrant criminals. And many people will think that this is unjust. But here's the thing. If the criminal had been raised better, they would not be criminals. So yeah, the responsibility is not just with the criminal, but with the family that raised him and the culture that influenced him. So yeah, the parents, the siblings, the spouse, and the children all must be deported. I recommend this most highly for the UK, Ireland, Sweden, Germany, Italy, and France. But really, any country can employ this method. 2, to encourage illegal aliens to self-deport, and they will self-deport, we must impose outrageously high fines on any businesses that hire illegal aliens. And I'm talking like $100,000 per illegal. Businesses will just stop hiring illegal aliens. You can't sustain life in a country where you can't make any money. And so they will all just go home. Illegal immigrants will all be gone. And that goes for European countries as well. It's a quick and easy solution. It's like Governor Gavin Newsom cleaning up San Francisco for Xi Jinping. It can be done easily. The question is simply, do we want to do it? Because we seem to be at a fork in the road right now. We can go down a path of authoritarian control, dictating what political ideas are allowed to be tweeted, a path of open borders, letting leftist politicians flood our cities and small towns with illegal immigrants in order to stack the deck in their favor come the next generation of voters. Or we can go down the path of reason, removing the illegal aliens and criminal immigrants from our borders. And I really do think that this is a binary choice. I don't think there's any room for compromise anymore. We tried that for decades. And when we compromise, we slide further and further down the path of authoritarian government control. All right, remember to buy all my overpriced crap on Teespring or support me on Patreon so that I can keep making these videos for you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. Good night.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man.